Yeah, it's been around for ages. In the meantime, like it started. Well, the story kind of started when I was probably when I was 16, 17. In the academy of Ajax still, I had a very late like growth spurt. It's called in English, I think, as well, with a lot of issues with my knees and with my heels, which basically kept me out of the game for like up to 2 years maybe, with like falling back into the injury like every time, because it was just only time could heal it really. And obviously at that age is also quite significant amount of time that you're out, because at that age it's quite important, like you can get your first contracts and all that stuff. Then let's say after them 2 years I came back and I needed 1 full year to basically get to know my new body, because it took, I think I grew like 20 odd centimeters or something in the meantime. So when I came back and when I was fit, I had to just refine myself and my coordination and all that stuff. So that took me a full season as well. Still went on to the under 19s, which is like the highest youth team in the academy at the time. And at that time, like my body and me were ready to go back like into the team and that. But like I said, I've missed a few very valuable years, so the cards were shuffled already a little bit in the favor of other guys. So from that position, I basically had to start like all the way down the bottom of the tree again to try and fight myself back up. Starting that in the 19 season, not even being in the squad. And then, from there onwards, it was like, I just didn't want to give up, obviously. And simultaneously, at the time, there was the rivalry between McGregor and Diaz. And I don't know if people remember it, but the first fight, I think Diaz took it on a few weeks' notice against like the world champion, like the very best in the world. And I remember seeing that, and he basically just got battered by McGregor. Got beaten up really, like his face was bleeding and everything. But he just kept standing up and he just stood his ground constantly, regardless of the blood in his face and whatever. And then he managed to turn the fight around and won by a submission. And because that was in the same amount of time, or in that time, I kind of used that as a reference for all the setbacks that I've had and that I was still like experiencing. Like you can, whoever it is, not a person or not the club itself, but just like life sometimes can obviously keep hitting you if you're in a difficult situation. But refused to give up and use that as an inspiration. And then during that season in the under 19s, I scored a goal and celebrated like that. And then there was a photographer who had it like perfectly on the photo, which I didn't expect, because it was not that there was loads of photographers around at the time. And then so I did it once, the photo was there, and then I just did it again, and kind of throughout that season, basically halfway through, I got myself back in the team, which like getting some minutes off the bench, scoring some goals from there, doing the celebration. It was getting some attention then, because there was more photographers around when we played league games and stuff at that time in the 19s as well. And then I finished that season, or let's say the second half of the season, I became a starter again, and scored, I don't know, in the end probably close to 15, 20 goals or something, scoring in the championship game against Feyenoord, scoring in the cup final. And then after that year during that year I was one of the only ones who didn't have a contract yet. But then at the end of the year I got rewarded a contract as well, a professional contract at Ajax. So that's basically the story. So the celebration just came at a time where I had to start all over again. And whilst doing that, I kind of made my comeback, and since then it just stuck.
Yeah, I suppose it's nice being so many years on now, and you've grown, you've moved over to England, and put it behind you, but you can still celebrate, and it probably reflects on where you have been. You've had probably some dark days, some hard times physically and mentally, but to now be scoring crucial goals, you know, in the Championship for a team pushing, you know, for promotion. It must be a nice feeling for you, and to do it along with the players and the fans as well, who all join in with you now.
Yeah, it's nice. Like I said, the first time I did it, I never expected, or I was never thinking it to keep this for my entire career, but it just developed in that way that it has been. And I don't know, people seem to like it, I think, because it's a bit different than what normal players do. I quite like it because now I got used to it, so it's almost like, yeah, when I score that goal, the feeling of then doing that in front of the fans just completes the feeling, really. And then yeah, but at the same time I also don't forget like where it comes from, and that comes from Nate Diaz then celebrating his victory over McGregor with blood on his face and doing the same thing.
And your goal on the weekend was 9th in the Championship this season. How much would it mean to you know, reach double figures and beyond?
Well, obviously I scored 2 in the FA Cup as well, so in my eyes I've already reached double figures, because I don't know, for me the cup is just as important as the league, so I don't really see it as my 9th goal. I more see it as my 11th goal. But obviously if I score another one, it will be the 10th in the league, but it's not something that I'm very focused on.
And yeah, just finally a trip to Coventry this weekend. Obviously they're in a good run of the road, got themselves in the playoff positions. How much are you and the team looking forward to that one?
I think in terms of quality, it might be a similar challenge as Bristol. Both teams in a good form, pushing for playoffs, and yeah, we probably have to be at our best again to win, like every week really in this league. But especially against those teams who are in form, we have to be well aware of their qualities as well. But at the same time, it's also a big chance to box another game off and get another 3 points.
Well, that's all. We see the celebration again this weekend.
Sounds like a plan.